My situation, I was taken away because of abuse allegations coming from my parents, and I was placed into a foster home September 23rd, 1996, is what documents that I read shared with me. And my mother's first impression of me was always that I had dirty nails and my clothes were dirty. So she took me a bath the first night that she got me, my foster mother. Her name was Lori. She took me a bath that night. My grandmother, her mom, was also present at the time, and they just were. It was a very happy thing at that time for them. As far as they told me, my family reacted very well to my arrival. They were really happy to have a baby in the home, really happy to have this new kind of joy in their life. And I wasn't my mom's, my foster mother's first baby. She was already a foster parent for some time, already had kids, but for some reason she said she felt an attachment to me, to that she loved me as soon as she saw me and everything. My sister, who was my foster sister at the time, she was 10 at the time, and she was also very happy. She said it was nice to have a new baby in the family, and she was just happy to be a big sister and kind of just play that part. My At the time, my foster dad, he was also very happy that he was just gonna get a chance to be with the baby and everything. So it really worked out for them. Happy family, happy thing. It was a good home for me to transition into, but still being barely a month. I have no knowledge of what's going on. As far I'm just a baby who is just being transported at this point from home, from my original home, and I don't even know who my real family is or where they are, what's going on with them. Really. So I did have other siblings. I had five brothers who were full brothers, and I had two half sisters that were my family. And it took me a while to figure out their names and who they were and stuff like that. And for the most part, during this time when I was reading documents about what's going on with them and what's going on with me, they were just going through it as well. They were going through the foster system. They were taken away as well. They were all going through their own troubles to try and transition into this new lifestyle of being taken away from your family. I was the youngest out of them, so for them, I mean, some of them were. I think my oldest brother was about 10, 12 years old. So they knew what was going on at the time, and they were well aware of what the accusations were and what was going on with court and stuff like that. Of course, me being a baby, I wasn't made aware of any of this stuff, but reading it and like reading about your life is a different experience. Reading about stuff that you don't remember, but it's on paper, so it happened. And you kind of get to a point where you're like, holy shit, like this is real stuff. It's like you're reading details about things that you'll never remember, but at least you have these documents that'll always prove it. And any foster kid or anyone who was adopted, this paperwork is always there because there's always a trail about your life and what led you to where you're at right now. And I think that's a big piece for a lot of kids, knowing there's a trail that like has your names, has the documents, has anything that went on at the time. So the information is always there when you need to find it. It's easy to look up. You just got to look it up, and you'll get your answers that you need once you're looking for it. So, for me, I always thought it was weird, not weird, but strange. Me being adopted was told to me as a bedtime story, actually, to where my mom at night, I remember, would just be next to me and putting me to sleep and just tell me, you don't come from me, but you're special. You're part of this family in a special way. I didn't have you, but I love you, and this is just that, like, mostly you're just special, and like you're not from me, but you're a big part of this family, and you mean so much to this family. And for me as a kid, hearing that, it's kind of weird. You're hearing that you're not from someone, and you're registering that in a different way. I don't know if it's really the best thing to tell a kid that. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, to where that was being told to me as like that. Maybe different timing, different stuff, but That's how it was being told to me and brought to my attention. That's from my earliest memory. That's what my earliest memory would be about it, you know, with my mom telling me that. And just always growing up having that in the back of my head. There was a time where I feel like I forgot that I was actually adopted, and that's weird to say, but I honestly just feel like there was a time where I forgot about it. It would just pop in my head. Like my mom would show me pictures of my sister when she was pregnant with her, and I'd be like, "Oh, like can you show me when you were pregnant with me?" And like you know, it just wasn't there. It didn't exist. But I'd asked randomly. I don't know if it was just me trying to be like, "Oh, like I'm from you," or just I don't know. But you know, I was very comfortable with it and just knowing everything. So that was always the good part about it. From a standpoint with me, I really can't put in words how it must have felt to really see someone growing up with other people. I mean, they were in their foster homes and they were going through all their stuff with their foster parents, but I'm sure for them to see like the youngest brother in this new home adapting to people, and like it's very young stages, it's very young milestones that I'm learning with um people who aren't my parents, who are my biological family, and I'm learning with them to a point where I'm recognizing them as like mom, dad, real like real family members. And I'm not thinking my biological family is like really my family, I guess you could say. So I feel for them in a sense. They probably saw just my detachment from everything, you know. In my papers, it says that I cried a lot whenever I was around my biological family, and I think it's just because my comfortability was with the people who were raising me, and which is understandable because that's not in my control. It's not in their control. It's just as a baby, you register with who you're with all the time and who's up with you at night and who's just doing the actual like parenting. So it's not that you know they weren't parenting. It's just they lost their privilege to parent me when they lost me, and that's the price that you got to pay. You know, there's a price to pay when you do certain stuff and you get your kids taken from you, and they were definitely paying that price by watching all this. I still got to go on visits with my siblings. I still got to see them, and you know they got to play with me and such. But I'm sure they saw like the detachment was there for sure. My dad, I used to have visits with my biological dad, but I mean I guess for the most part, you know he played with the older kids. He minded his business with that. And my mom, my biological mom, she always tried to give me attention and hang out with me. But for the most part, you know, I was just attached to my foster mother at the time and my foster grandmother at the time. I was really close with them, so you know, if I cried or I needed something, I more leaned more towards going to them and not so much my biological mom. And you know, being a dad myself, I could really imagine the feeling of just seeing that, and it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, I'm a child, so it's not fair on either end. It's not fair. It's not fair for my biological mother, and it's not fair for me. You know, I can't make decisions. I can't speak about it. I can't do anything really about it except you know just grow up as I'm growing up, and that's just a crazy feeling to actually know. You know, there's really no choice involved. It's just you're growing up thinking these are your parents, and they're not your parents. Like yeah, they're raising you, but they're not your biological parents. The person who like gave birth to you and like you know brought you on this earth and everything. So it's a real deeper feeling, and I guess you grow up, you know, having to really separate that those feelings, and it gets to you sometimes. For me, meeting them was crazy. At the same time, when I found out about them by you know going through some papers, some you know files that were always locked in my childhood. They were always like there growing up. You know that secret just place that your parents keep stuff, and you're so curious about it as a kid. And you know, finally, you know, I just wanted to go through it, so I did. And you know, in it, I find these papers that have you know blacked out reports, and it's like all I could see is really just last names, and I see the last names with Alvarez go on a lot, and so I started remembering, you know, my real name wasn't Robert, it was Gerardo Alvarez, and it was a different identity, but I was registering like these. I see this last name popping up, but a lot of stuff is blacked out, so I don't know why it's blacked out. I don't know if it was blacked out to cover the information or blacked out specifically because they didn't want someone to see like the first names and addresses and names, like to actually like locate them, which is actually a weird part about it. But so I found the papers and I find the names and I connect all the dots. I'm like, oh my god, these are my siblings. Like I have brothers, I have sisters, I have family. Oh my god, like where like first reaction is like where are they? I just want to find them. And Facebook being my first instinct to go on to look them up, because that's where you find anyone these days. I hop on Facebook and I start looking up profiles. This profile leads me to another profile, and I find one of my brothers. His name was Urbano, and I swear it was like looking like at a picture of me. It was just like this person, like it was like me with a mustache, and I was like, oh my god, like that's my family, that's my brother. Like it was a real crazy feeling. Like I felt this like weird sensation in me, like I just found like family of like 20, 21 years. And it was also a very sad feeling to see that they were all established together and they were all together and happy, family photos, family birthdays, just a whole bunch of stuff that I really it registered that life went on, everyone's life went on, but I was the only one separated at the time. So it was a really different registered feeling for me when I saw that. But when I first called my one of my older brothers, the oldest, George, and he was just so ecstatic. Like he literally was messaging me like, "Oh my god, like I'm crying at work. Like I just, oh, this is so amazing. Like like God bless everything. Like I can't believe we found you. Like oh my god, it's you and everything." And when I messaged him, it was just like it's me. It's like it's Gerardo. Like it's your brother. Like like it's like finding a long lost person in a way. And for them, that's how they felt about it too. One thing led to another. He messages another one of the older ones, and they like let it be known, kind of like, "Oh my god, we found him. Like here he is." And it was an amazing feeling at the time. And it was just okay, let's get together, let's like let's meet. And so the same night, I take a drive to go meet them, and they're telling me, we're gonna surprise your biological mom, Marisol. We're gonna surprise her and tell her like we're gonna go out to eat, but we're not gonna tell her like it's with you. And it was a nervousing feeling. The whole I remember the whole drive just being really nervous. Oh my god, I'm gonna meet these people, my family, like people who should just be just like me and such. And I get there, I meet them, and it's just person after person. My brothers, my two sisters, everyone looks alike. They all just look like me. It's all love. It's a beautiful moment, beautiful just thing going on and everything, and it's really nice and everything. It's a family moment, really family capturing type thing. I'm meeting everyone for the first time. It's all love and everything. And I see my mom, and it's just she starts crying, my biological mother. And my feelings were more towards my siblings than they were towards my parents, and it wasn't really nothing against them. I never met my biological dad, but it was more just I just always wanted to meet my siblings, and I always had a soft spot for my sisters. Come to find out, I even had a little brother, so they had a baby even right after me, and all that. I had a little brother, Sebastian, and he was just like me. It was so weird. It's so weird when you meet siblings and like they're just like you, and it's like you're meeting your twin that you just haven't even known his whole life, which was pretty crazy. Most part, I maintained a relationship with my brothers, my sisters. I always wanted to have siblings, so maintaining a relationship with them was key. My mom and my biological parents in general, it really didn't matter to me to have a relationship with them or not. Mostly for the fact I kind of just had a resentment of like it's kind of your fault that we're all what happened with us, and that I kind of didn't get raised in this family that that's all registered now and everything. It feels like everything for them came together, and maybe I was just left out of all of it, which is it was a sad feeling. It was a weird feeling to have it register with all of it and really like keep it inside. But my for the most part, so for the parents, not really anything. My bio mom, text messages every now and then, talking to her. I never really met or had a relationship with my biological dad. He called me once or twice, I think, but again, resentment, pride. I really just didn't want to have anything to do with him, honestly. And it was just, I just didn't really want to talk to him or anything. I was more invested in my siblings. And unfortunately, he ended up passing away. I forgot the reason why, but he did pass away before I got any chance to really talk to him or meet him or anything. And maybe that was just how it was meant to be. I don't know. God has different ways of how he does things and how things happen for a reason. But I don't forget him. I saw pictures of him, and he did kind of look like me. And it was just weird feelings with them. Maintaining everything with them. I don't put, I can't feel bad, and I can't really blame myself because I lost 20 years. So again, at the end of the day, this is what happens when you're in the foster system. When you get adopted, you lose out time and you can't make up for that time or get that time back. You're stuck in that loop of, I didn't get to do this because I really didn't have a choice. I didn't have a say at the time of what, I would have preferred or what I could have, asked for at the time. I really wouldn't call it conflict, I guess. Like, how do you feel as a mother when you see another mother raising your child? And you see that child really getting closer without you and getting closer with that person. And at the end of the day, it is your fault because you caused the child to be put in that situation. But at the same time, the child's just, that's what babies do. They register with whoever is taking care of them. And I was being taken care of by, these my foster family and everything, and I was closer with them. Whenever I would be away from them, I'd cry. I wouldn't if I didn't see any one of them. If I was a baby, I'd freak. When I was a baby, I'd freak out about it, and I'd try and find them, and it was just really comfortability stuff. I really needed to be comfortable, and that caused some problems for my mother. I'm sure because she always wanted to be, she wanted to be a mother and be close to me, but she couldn't get that opportunity because I was just being raised by people who I was who were strangers, but at the time they're not strangers to me. I'm considering them my real family, and this is what I'm growing up with. For me, knowing you had a different identity, different name is a pretty crazy thing. My family, I remember, tried finding me under that name for a while, and I think the reason why they couldn't find me was exactly that. They didn't know that my identity had been changed, and I think my adopted mother did that just for the reasoning of wanting probably a fresh start, wanting to me to be fully her child and just have it like that. So I think kids should be able to have a say in that though. I don't think a name should be able to be changed. I know I was a baby, and for them, they just have the power and the say in that. But it should be like that's my last name. It's my biological father's last name. So maybe I should have been able to carry that on or had to say if I needed to carry that on or not. So in my opinion, I think kids should get say in that because it's something that is it should be your decision in my personal opinion because that's something you're going to carry on for the rest of your life, and maybe you don't want to carry on an adoptive last name, you want to carry on your real last name, what you were part of. For me, I always had relationships with every foster kid that came in my house. I always shared a room with them, so I always had a shared space with them, and I always got along with them, kind of like having always like a brother in a sense, or having a sidekick in a way. They always just hung out with me. I always brought them into my friend group and showed them around school, and most of the time because they always ended up going to the same school as me, and that was always fun. Always just having a partner and everything in crime, for the most part. Always got along with every single one. One of the foster kids ended up staying for a while. Was my homie Alex. So he ended up staying with us for a lot of years. Ended up becoming like true family member, and I think I like that the most about the foster system is that sometimes these kids that come in, it's a different situation. They could your parents could get guardianship over them, so that way they're like just like they're the ones who will take care of them and all that. And my mom did that with one of the foster kids because he just stayed for so long. He just became family, and his story and everything that he went through, it was very interesting and powerful to hear about when I first met him, and ended up just becoming one of my best friends, closest friends. Brought him into my friend group, and all my friends loved him. So you make friends with people. I made a lot of bad choices with some other ones, but they influence you in different ways, and that it also just comes with it. It comes with being a part of that group of people. Some of them are bad, some of them are good, some of them are bad just because that's all they were around. So it's not their fault, but that's what they grew up around, and you kind of just get influenced by it because you growing up around them. I considered myself a foster kid. I felt for them, and I always just was like, I put myself in their shoes because I really felt like I was one of them at that time growing up. I was adopted, but I was around so many of them. You kind of just end up feeling that way, that you're one of them in that sense. And it's not that I wasn't loved enough or anything. It was just a feeling of like I feel like I'm a part of you and everything. The answer to that is pretty much yes. I keep in contact with most of them. I considered most of them really family members for the most part. If you stayed long, and if you were in my house, you were a family and everything. I always invited them into my friend groups. I brought them around my friends in school because they usually were in the same grade as me, running around school together. I made sure they felt comfortable because I would hate to go somewhere and feel uncomfortable. I can only imagine how it feels for certain kids who have to go into a stranger's home and make themselves home and everything. I know on the first day for some kids, I see that they're always a little awkward. They try and like be on the couch or try and just be like like by themselves, and I always just try to welcome them. Food's always a great welcomer when you welcome people with food. But I have this one foster kid. I don't even call him foster kid. I call him my brother in my family because he was with us since he was like 14, and I was like almost, I'm 26, so that was almost like 10 years ago. He was with us for so long. He just became an instant family member. And I just call him my brother. He's just to everyone he's my brother. He's in my friend group. We're all close friends and everything. I always try and keep in contact with people because they leave a mark. Every foster kid I felt left a mark, or someone left an impression on me that was either good or bad. There was always like those situations where I felt like I was influenced by the negativity that was coming in the house, and that's something that was it was something to work through and everything. I kind of felt like I also used that as an excuse to act bad when I didn't really need to act bad. There was nothing wrong with my life. There was nothing wrong with how I was being brought up and everything. So for me, I was using it as an excuse, but also it was there. The influence was there. Meeting kids that were doing things that I wasn't even into yet or hadn't even thought of yet and everything. So it all works out though. I consider them family. I'll always keep in contact and everything. I still talk to people who my mom and my dad, they were my dad's almost 70 now, and there's still people who when he was foster parent when I was a baby, only a couple months old, that we keep in contact with or that knew me or anything like that. And it's always a great feeling when you can still talk to people who were a part of your life and everything, and you still keep updated with them and how they're doing in life and everything is very important. Personally, I think it's good to have a space to open up about anything. There's literally, you could talk to someone about anything. It's just finding the right person and finding the right space. I've created this space so that way you could come on here and you could tell me about your life because I've been through it. I've witnessed it. I've had so many different foster kids in and out of my life, and I've heard all their stories, good, bad, sad, heartbreaking stories and everything. And it's just you always need someone to talk to. I think that's why I always got close to anyone who stayed at my house or anything, because we always talked. I shared a room mostly with every foster kid. It was mostly boys. We weren't allowed to have girls in my house based off of how the house is set up. You have to have separate bathrooms for boys and girls. They can't have joined bathrooms. So the ones at my house were kind of connected door to door. So it was always boys and everything. So it worked out. Most part, it worked out with talking and everything. So when I'm talking with them and I think it's a great space for them because they understand that I know what they're going through. They understand that he's like, they consider me one of them. At times, maybe I did feel like a foster kid. Maybe I did feel like I was one of them, but it was never like, I don't know. I had a good life. I was brought up good and everything. I should have took more appreciation for what I had. I think I just saw what they were going through and I kind of just felt for them and I acted like I was one of them when I wasn't. And it was conflicting stuff, but for the most part, people need a good space to talk. They need somewhere to go. So when I'm creating a space so you could come here, talk with me, and we could share stories. I could give you advice. You could give me advice. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I think it's just a great topic and a great something to share that you may not want to share with your best friend, with the foster parents, with even if you're trying to get back into your family and maybe not want to share it with them because it's always that thing of I don't understand, they might not understand me, so I don't want to feel shut out and just not understood. I want to talk to someone who's gonna understand, and this is exactly where that'll happen, and I can promise that. Personally, I've always wanted to open up about my life. I've always wanted to share my story. At one point, I thought this was book material. I thought, maybe I could write a book and, just talk about my life. I've gone through so much different stuff, and it's not that I just think my story is better than everyone else's. It's just things happen to people's lives, and it's interesting in a weird way. You want to just like read into it, you want to feed into it, and you kind of just get wrapped up into someone's drama and everything. And I think that's what, isn't that what TV is? Isn't that what everything else is? We're watching drama unfold, and we do crave it. Everyone wants to see what's next, what's going to happen next, and stuff like that. So I've always been a talker, so I have no problem opening up about my life. I don't think it's wrong to open up about stuff that happened over 26 years ago, because it's my life, it's my story, and I'm going to share it how I want to share it. I'm not trying to put the spotlight on me. I'm just trying to say, hey, this is what I went through. Maybe someone else will see that and say, hey, I want to talk to that person because it sounds like they're going through what I went through. And you could just bounce really good energy off each other. I'm here to, help someone. I want to help someone, and that's really what this is. That's what I am. I'm a people pleaser. I want someone to see this and, be inspired to just talk and like just share. And then if there's that person who's adopted, who's looking for their family, this is the place. Let's put it out there. Let's get it going. When I first met my family, they wanted to go on like the Maury show, or they wanted to go on like or Ellen, shows like that to kind of explain our story and everything. And at the time, I thought it was silly, but now, when I'm talking about it now, it doesn't seem silly anymore. It seems like, it's something we probably could have shared, and maybe it would have got more light then. But for the most part, I'm happy that I'm sharing this now. This all came together at just the right time, and that's just something that I find truly amazing and blessing. Personally, it might sound weird coming from me, but I do not think that someone should be adopted when they're in the foster system. Now, if we're talking your parents are, drug addicts, just like terrible people, then okay, I could totally understand that. But if your parents or biological family is like fighting for your rights, and there's like just stuff going on to where their rights get terminated, the rights should be terminated for the best interest of the child. But that doesn't mean they should be adopted. It doesn't mean that the foster parent should have the right to change their identity and everything like that. I personally don't agree with that. Being adopted and having my identity changed, I don't think that's okay. I think that, there should be a certain age of consent to where, the kid grows up. If you plan on never telling the kid they were adopted, that's something totally different. But still, I believe there should be a consent age of where I should be able to, when I'm able to acknowledge it, when I'm able to understand it, then I could give you my permission. Yes, we've lived a happy life. I believe I should go through with this and I should be adopted. I don't want to know about my other family, or the option should be I want to know about my family, and then, let me see where my head is. Let me see what goes on and everything. I get, a person doesn't want to feel abandoned, like they don't want, like my mother would have hated and just been heartbroken if I would have just been like, I'm gonna go move in with them and now I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm not saying that, but it should just be the person's choice. It shouldn't be I have to wait to find out about my family. I have to ask questions. It should have everything should have been provided for me when I was at an age that I understood. High school is perfect. You understand things in high school. Even when I was 18, hand me the paper that says, this is everything that you're from, and then let it be known that way, and let me decide what to do with it. I don't think it's fair for someone to make decisions for someone who can't even explain anything or say anything. Because what if I didn't want to be adopted? What if I didn't want my name changed? Having a last name is a powerful thing, especially when it comes from your parents, comes from, the father, your father and everything, because that's something you carry on. So it's a decision that should be made when you are able to consent. That decision is my personal opinion on that. Personally, it made me appreciate my kids more. It made me never want to go through a situation like that or put them in a situation like that, because you could see the fairness to unfairness of what kids go through. And there's some bad foster parents out there. There's some people who are just in it for a check and in it to really not care for your child. I've heard stories about it. We've all seen documentaries on stuff like that, and it's a really powerful thing. I was blessed to have a mother who was a great foster parent. She put kids' interests first, and she took care of them the right way, as if they were her own children. And seeing that, and just seeing how other kids were brought up with bad parents, it really inspired me to be the best parent I could be. And I'm proud to say that I am a good dad, and I take care of my kids, and I just have the best relationship with them. and I hope they could see what I'm doing when they're getting a little older. See what I'm putting out, what I'm trying to inspire here, so that way they could go inspire someone. If I could do anything with this, is to inspire someone. And I think that's just one of the greatest achievements someone could have, is giving someone else hope to do something that they didn't think they could do. I didn't think I could do this, and here I am, and I'm doing it. Honestly, one of my biggest influences was my brother-in-law. He passed away when he was 27. So that was about, it'll be 10 years this year. He was one of my biggest influences. He taught me a lot of things. He came up not really knowing. He felt like he was from where I was coming from. Basically, he felt abandoned. He felt like he just didn't have that then, and he related to me so much. He knew me since I was really little and everything, but he was just one of the people that I looked up to the most about anything in life. And I lost him when I was really young, and when he was very young, and it was a very sad thing. But I hold his memory dear to my heart, and I hold him to the highest standards of everything. I always make sure I'm doing everything right in his eyes, like how he would see it. And he really just influenced me to really be a great person, and always look out for people and stuff like that. Another person who really influenced me a lot was, my mom. For a lot of this is all this wouldn't be because of her. I wouldn't know any of this stuff. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do anything if it wasn't for my mom. She was the greatest foster parent ever. She really just inspired me to want to help people, because she always helped someone. She put someone before herself all the time. I lost her just this last year, and it was just a devastating thing, but I hold her memory so dear to my heart, and everything that she did, it made me just want to be a better person, made me want to do things for people, and it just really changed how I view life and how I see things in just a better way. And it's just, those two were honestly my biggest influences, and it's sad that I lost two of the biggest ones, but I know they're always watching, and I know that my inspiration comes from them all the time. I think I've already said it. I hope that inspiration comes from this podcast. I hope hope comes. I hope someone who maybe thinks, who they can't talk to anyone, who they can't go to anyone, could come to me and just, let's just talk. It doesn't even have to be on camera. I don't want it just to all be about that. Like, if you're not comfortable with cameras and you just want to talk off camera, hey, I'm here for that too. A lot of the people who will come on here and talk are my close personal friends, who want to share their stories, who want to, inspire the next person just like me. And I love that. I love that I could have friends come on here, people I've known, social workers, my dad who was a foster parent, just other foster parents who have opinions, and different opinions are good. It makes more conversation. I really just am excited for what could come from this, because I just want greatness to come, and I really hope that someone who's maybe in the dark could come out and just be like, I saw this podcast, I saw this person, he just gave me hope to want to talk and share my story, so I don't want to feel alone. And that's all I could ask for from this, because I encourage that every day. People, talk to someone, talk to anyone. It's really helpful. I avoided it for so long, but when you actually talk to someone and get it going, you realize it's not that bad. And that's my story, and I just want to thank everyone for taking their time to listen. And I really hope I inspired someone. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I promise more stories will come, more people will come on here and share beautiful stories, sad, happy. It's just going to be everything all around, and I just thank you so much.